Hey everyone, I am so excited. You guys are going to be so excited too. I was just saying, everyone loves when Ben is on the podcast. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Kristina. I feel like that's how we start every. It's like, hi, Kristina, and it's a little laugh.
I don't know why. I'm always just so excited that you're here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's good because, like, I feel like when I come on, it's like topics that I'm, like, more excited about, which is good.
Yes.
This is good. I'm excited to talk about this.
Not fraudulent.
We like to get by on as little fraudulence as possible. It's so stupid. We've seen a lot of frauds. We felt like frauds, but no longer. We're trying to be the real deal.
The real deal. We're laughing because Ben joined us. You know, we scooped Ben kind of right out of university, and so we didn't teach him everything he knows. He came with lots of great skills, but learned a lot, I think, working with us. And then sometimes we'll ask him to do something, and he's like, I feel like a fraud doing that. We're like, so you've done it 50 times. And so definitely not a fraud. People are out there selling things. We should actually do an episode on that sometime. People are out there selling things that they for sure are running for the first time.
Yeah. By the way, download my coaching program in the description.
Well, okay, we're going to talk about, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about how to increase your podcast downloads.
Yeah.
Really. I feel like there's a lot of like podcasters out there who you've launched and you're feeling good for maybe a few months, maybe 2 months, maybe 4 months, maybe 6 months, but then you kind of hit a wall where you're like, man, is this creating the impact that I thought that it was going to create, or that I hope it will still create? And that's like normal, I think. And we're talking about a bit about like, I guess, kind of your podcast journey. And I think that you've had like that very similar feeling. And then we had a really good year last year where we tried some different things in order to actually create that even greater impact. And we're just going to kind of share a little bit about like what some of those things were, and hopefully encourage people that like, you're doing a good thing already, but like there is still way more potential and way more opportunity there than even probably what you're experiencing right now.
Yeah, love it. I know, especially because podcasting can feel like such a labor of love. Like, you know, especially at the beginning. Ben started working on our podcast about like a year ago, kind of more once you kind of joined us full time.
Yeah.
And we just needed, like, you know, I was just kind of like, let's take this over. Let's just figure out why you're laughing.
Yeah. No, I'm not laughing.
But it was a little Hot Mess Express. Like, we were just kind of doing things. The titles were all kind of wonky. Just not a lot of intentionality put into them.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what you want me to say.
You know what? It's funny because sometimes with social, people will be like, do you have any before or after photos of like other accounts you've worked on? I'm like, do you know how offensive that would be if we were like, here's the before and the after, like this is what you were doing before and it was shit. So Ben's trying not to do that right now, but we were doing well. And I think, you know, what's been so cool is our downloads have actually doubled this year. And I give Ben tons of credit for that, for his strategy on it. But we really wanted to prioritize growing the podcast in 2025 just because of how much time, especially me, I was putting into it. And it has been such a great like visibility tool for the Social Snippet for high vibe women. But also like just even today, we just got a review from someone in the UK. I don't even know who it is, being like, this is such high value, like so much resourceful, like so good, which is such a great, like I love that. Like, I'm just so grateful. But we really wanted to like, you know, serve these people better and serve more people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I still feel like even after all this growth, it's like we get those messages and I'm like, oh, we're still, I think, a hidden gem on the internet. But we've made a lot of progress, but there's still more people out there. So if you tell your friends about the community podcast. Put a lot of work into this.
So much work. Guys, I'm not telling you Ben's bonus depends on this, but it doesn't. But no, guys, like honestly, it's so cool to see like how far it's come. But I totally agree. Like I sometimes get overwhelmed. I don't know for those of you listening if you guys feel the same way, but sometimes when I look at our download numbers, I'm like, cool, like good. And then I'm like, oh, if I had all those people in a room, I would be like so excited about it. Like I would be like overjoyed. And then sometimes also like, who else is going to listen to my podcast? Like, who are the new people? And then I think about someone like Lori or Jacqueline or some of my other podcaster friends or podcasts I listen to. And they're seeing, you know, 10x, 100x, maybe what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So there's lots of people that can still listen.
Yeah. And I think like, again, like to put them numbers in perspective, like I feel like some people too, like they'll launch a podcast with us and they'll be like, is this good? There's like, that doesn't seem good to me. And it's like, these aren't numbers like social numbers. I think people look at it and be like, oh, well, like on a social post, I got this many views. So, like, why is my podcast not getting that many views? And I'm like, this is a much more intimate, intentional form of community building that like is just worth more. Like I think about like how much value you can provide in a podcast rather than in a 30-second reel, and how much more trust you can build again in a podcast versus a 30-second reel. It's just like astronomically more valuable. And even with a really small podcast, you can have a whole lot of impact. But yeah, and it just kind of like just a slow burn, slow growth from there. But yeah, I guess you want to get into some of the things.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't I start it? So really one of the big things that we did was we got consistent, which kind of speaks to also like, I think this is something that podcasters do wrong all the time, is that they'll be like, oh, I uploaded an episode on Monday, and then the next week it was Thursday, and then whatever. And something, I have been consistent weekly. And then we moved up to 2 a week, which like in theory would double our numbers, but we're actually talking about like double on top of that. So, you know, which is pretty great. But really showing up twice a week without fail and really batching content. So I'm not going to tell you how far in advance we are because I'm banned from telling people how far we are, because I give people too much personal info. But last year, I was pregnant all of last year. And so like, I didn't know what the season would look like. And so we got super far ahead because I knew how much of a priority the podcast was. And so making really not timely topics, but a lot of that, like, you know, those topics that they're going to be great in December and they're going to be great in October and they're going to be great in July. And then being able to be flexible on, hey, but this great trend just came out and I really want to talk about it. Or Alex Emojis just had a book launch and like that killed. That episode was awesome that you and I did. And got great download numbers. So yeah, really that consistency and that cadence.
Yeah, totally. I think like something too that people don't think about with like podcasting is I think they think about the time commitment and the energy commitment of showing up, and they don't always think about how much value you actually get from that. Like it seems like a big thing to like show up and record a podcast. So people are like, I don't know how I could possibly get ROI out of showing up every single week or twice a week. In our case, it's a lot of time commitment, but like it does substantially increase your chances of getting seen. You're showing up more times on the internet. You have more things to like backlink to. You have you can bake yourself into the routine of your people, and people start to like really count on you as a part of your schedule. It's like people know the community podcast comes out on Mondays and Thursdays because it always comes out on Mondays and Thursdays, and that can be part of your routine. I have podcasts that I listen to like on the way to work on Mondays. It's just a thing that like I know that it comes out Sunday. I don't listen to it Sunday. I listen to it Monday morning on the way to work, and like that is like a huge piece of showing up consistently. And all those episodes that you create, it's like even if you're like, oh, people don't have time to listen to me every single week, it's like those episodes don't go away. Like we were just talking about how like episodes that we have, by showing up consistently, like sometimes people will miss them, but then like they'll come to the podcast late or they won't listen and they'll download them all. Like those things live on the internet forever, and they're like constantly working in your favor on different topics. Like you like, it's good to reinforce topics many times, but you don't have to do the same iteration of an episode because you can just link people to it. It's always there. It's always working for you. And that's like a huge part of just like more content on podcasting is better, and more consistency is better. It's just more opportunities, more times for people to reach you, to get that like kind of intimate time with you. And it's super worthwhile.
Totally agree. And I think it also builds that trust, right? Like people want that from you. Like they want that consistency. We want to see like our favorite creators. We want to listen to them. Yeah, love that. The next one, like you do a lot of this for me, which is such a gift, which is the repurposing of the content. So this was something, you know, when, you know, before you came on, I posted a reel probably, but now we talk about it in multiple ways every week. So whether that be, you know, we put the episode live, we go Instagram, we do some Threads content, we do a LinkedIn like post or two, an email newsletter, like so much stuff.
So a big part of our strategy this year was to basically use the podcast as like the top of funnel content. Such a snippet, we found like even a year ago, we had like a lot of like good stuff going on, but it was all kind of like siloed. It's like we did some LinkedIn posts, and it was always like new content, and that's what was harder to produce a lot of it. We did Instagram content, but it was all original content, so it's hard to produce a lot of it. We did these podcasts, but we didn't really like use them for anything. We also had like this like pretty hefty blog strategy that didn't really tie into the other stuff. So we had all these like silos of things, and part of our strategy was like, what if the podcast actually just informs all the rest of the content? It's like we get to create some really good, what we think is like some really timely, some really impactful podcast episodes, and what would it look like for that actually to just fill the rest of it. So it's like we're not having to like think of things for 4, 5, 6 platforms. We're thinking of like one really aligned topic, and then we're just catering it to each platform and like to make it more digestible and fit in more with like the vibe of that platform. So like when we post a podcast episode now, we used to just do like a podcast clip, and then we'd have other content kind of like, you know, working together but kind of separately with different stuff. But now we have a podcast clip that goes out. It goes out on 3 platforms. We write a Threads post that goes out the same day as the episode. So look out for this content, by the way. You can interact with it.
You can throw us a link.
We have a LinkedIn newsletter that goes out on Fridays. We have an email newsletter that goes out on Mondays. And we're just constantly recapping it. We also not only just like, we don't do this just to promote the podcast. We actually use it to like provide value too. It's like Kristina, she has lots of time. She makes lots of time for her community, but you know, you have a finite amount of time. And the podcast is one way that you actually show up really well with a lot of energy and attention. So it's like we don't want to waste that. So we actually take the ideas and the great things that are said by you or by guests or by Maria or whoever's on the podcast, and we actually just like take the thought leadership in that. And that's how we inform a lot of like your LinkedIn posts or your thread posts. We make like carousels, and sometimes we link them to the podcast to get more downloads because it's a big thing, but we also like want to show up with value on these platforms, and the podcast actually helps us to do that, and it reinforces the topics that we want people to trust us for. So even when they're not realizing that it's being reinforced, like reinforcing the podcast, it's reinforcing the podcast because we're, again, being known for the same things. We're providing like great value for that. And like oftentimes we try to provide value too without the catch of like, now you have to listen to this thing. Now you have to download this thing. So it's really like, the repurposing the thing is like actually being like, oh, like what it is look like create a whole ecosystem of like content on like the same topics to really hammer home what can you provide people, what do you want to be known for, and what does your podcast talk about. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do. And it's been pretty cool.
No, and it's been interesting too because I think different platforms like crave different things, and I think also things that perform really well in one place, like we've had stuff like pop off on LinkedIn that we've done like Instagram posts on it, and it hasn't had the same feeling, or Threads, like different things that require different things. But the podcast, I like to think of it as kind of like our playground, because I'm best verbally, like I would say. We just tried to record a bunch of reels. I was like, these are not concise. I need to tell you, these are little podcasts. But I'm best verbally, so that's easiest for me to be able to like talk through something. But then when we post some podcast episodes, it's been amazing actually. Like, success does leave clues, so you're able to see like what people care about when it comes to your topic. So even we were just talking about this episode, but Ben keeps us in line because me and Maria are crazy, and mostly me. Maria is along for the ride. But we did an episode that was like the strangest things we've ever like experienced in business. We took feedback from our audience. We were just talking about that because Ben, the first time I like brought up, Ben like didn't see the vision behind it. And I was like, listen, it's like kind of like a call her daddy, like kind of like, you know, like it's funny, like me and Maria are gonna like talk this through. And you were like, girls, like do it, like, you know, but like we'll kind of see how it goes. And it ended up being super well received. A bunch of people shared it in their newsletters. They thought it was funny, like, and like I was like, oh, that's kind of sick, right? Or like the Alex Hormozy thing, we saw that like responded really well. And so something we actually learned, you and I, was we were like, oh, we need to do timely content. Like people wanted to see like social media trends. They want to hear about things that are going on. They want to know about, you know, new things, and hear our take on it. And so we can't really batch that far ahead on the podcast, because if we do, in 6 months, we're like, there was this new LinkedIn feature that came out, you know? And so that was an interesting piece. And then that also helps inform like, oh, that was a great podcast. That's going to be an awesome blog. Or like, we can do some threads on that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of the ops guy on this. So it's like, it's like kind of a frustrating reality. because it's like it feels so good to be ahead, and it feels like when you're ahead, you can think of more ideas to like promote something. You can think of all this stuff, and it's like you feel like you can actually show up more prepared. But sometimes that's not what matters. What matters like often is like the content itself. And I think again that's a lesson in itself about podcasting that people don't often think about. They're like, they come to us and they're like, I need fancier clips and I need 4 posts and not 3. And I'm like, well, like that's might be true. Like some like, you know, like some really cool mashup reels, or like some, you know, like fun like comic strip graphics, or all these things that we've seen that do like well recently. Like those do help sometimes, but like really what matters like is the content. Like how you show up, like with what energy, and like and with what topic, and how you structure an episode in terms of actually giving audience like tangible tips, tangible value, real inspiration, not just like you just kind of like shooting it with like a friend for 30 minutes where like, there's not really anything actionable or, you know, really applicable to someone's life. It's like that's not going to work. And so it's frustrating sometimes because timely content does take more work, but
yeah,
if you should believe it, if it's coming from me, it is actually worth it. So
I know we have this thing on our team where I'll have an idea for a podcast and I send Ben the idea on Slack and I go, are you going to shank me? Not that he's ever given me any kind of threat, so he's going to shank me, but I'll send him like the little knife emoji, question mark, because I'm like, oh, this is a ton of work, but I also like, being a marketer, I'm like kind of up on some of these trends that are happening, and I'm watching things and I'm seeing things in real time. And so we want to bring that to you guys, right? And so Ben does a great job with the team to kind of bring that to life. So sorry, everybody. Well, and then this is actually like our favorite one ever. This next piece, I'll let you talk about it. SEO.
That's our favorite one.
Well, not.
I was like looking at the next point, and I was like, does she mean this one? I thought it was more like the next one after this one would have been your favorite.
That one's my favorite, but this one's your favorite, no? Because I actually think this has been the most important one.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think it's like, so it's SEO and kind of understanding the podcast platforms and stuff like that. And I don't know if I'd say my favorite one, but I do think it's like the quickest win. I think we actually had an episode on this, like a podcast SEO episode.
Yeah.
By the way, Ben, you should link that below.
I always say I'll link it below, but people know it's not me.
But which was a great episode, and in that episode, I think one of us I recall saying was like that is like the kind of the easiest win that you can make on your podcast is just to like commit to making these small SEO tweaks, because you actually don't need to change the way you promote or the way you show up or even the way you film. Those things all work as well in tandem with this, but just by like getting more strategic about like what is the actual messaging that I want to get from this episode. So you listen back to the episode, you have an editor edit it or something like that, and you think about, hey, like what's like the one thing that I want people to actually grasp from that, and like what's that theme, and then promoting it, entitling it, making the description, giving like the tags, like being in the right categories on that specific topic makes a world of difference. So I think like titling is like what now become one of the most underrated elements, I think, to podcasting that I tell all of our clients is like, if you can actually make a podcast with a title in mind, you're going to be so far ahead of so many podcasters, because some people like they film this like kind of loose conversation and it can be good. It can even have a lot of value, but when there's not like a drive, like outcome in mind, where you're like, oh, I want this listener to like understand this, or this is the title. It's like you kind of get behind the 8 ball on like that, and then you're kind of like, oh, how do I like pitch this to my audience, kind of thing. Like what's like what kind of value could I kind of like pull out of that conversation, or like that what's the most exciting detail. It's like if you actually can make an episode around a specific message that you know your audience cares about, you're in, because then it just trickles down to like every single SEO detail. You can use the same messaging and it just reinforces on the back end. It also just like really speaks to your ideal audience member too, because you know them well. Like that person who's 2 steps behind you, that person who just bought your service, like what do they need to hear most right now? Make an episode on that.
Yeah.
And don't just like have a conversation and then try to figure out how it relates to your audience. Like start with the question and then make the episode.
Yeah, I think that's the clip, dude. Well, it's true, because even when I was trying to batch record episodes more last year, I don't need to do that anymore, but when I was like batch recording last year, I would go on ChatGPT and I would ask, my ideal client is this type of person. Yeah. what are they asking about social? What are they asking about podcasting? And then I would record solo episodes based on that. I'd ask for an outline. I would make it completely my own. Like, you know, you can ask it for a script. I wouldn't use the script, but I would use the concept. And it's amazing how well some of those episodes have performed, because it's true. Like they're taking information from what these people are asking. But even you went through a bunch of our episodes and like changed past titles and stuff. And we've seen downloads increase, or like people looking for stuff, right? And so even like because a lot of the times our titles were so vague before, like we were just like chats with this person. That's just being kind. And someone might be like, oh, I like that person, I'm gonna listen. But the difference between that and being like, you know, so-and-so built a $1 billion business and she's giving us marketing tips or tells us how to do that, like using these tips, like that's a different thing.
Well, like think about your website, right? Like people build out like these like awesome like FAQ pages, and people go there and it's like you're very clearly spelling out like, do you have this question? Here's the answer. Do you have this question? Here's the answer. But people go to your podcast page and it's like they're not gonna like, if your titles are chats with this person, that's not like, that is a past episode. But if you turn it into an FAQ where it's like, here's how to maximize going to a live event, that's not a past episode anymore. That is an active resource on your page. You can link that places. If people like search that, they're probably gonna find it, because that's actually a question that someone searches. Like even on chat, like we have a whole episode on like how to rank on chat and like actually show up in AI models as an answer. It's like if you have actual episodes answering actual questions, you can rank there. You can actually be a resource there. So it's like, are your past episodes resources or are they past episodes? I think that's kind of a differentiating factor. It's like some podcasts all have a massive shelf life, and that's like one of the greatest values of a podcast, opposed to like a reel that you put out, which like, man, you can put a lot of effort into a reel. Like, go check out High Vibe Woman's cake reel. It was awesome, but man, that's already it's already a flash in the pan, right? Like it's over. The cake.
It's been eaten.
It's been eaten. It ate pretty good.
Yeah.
We're really excited with the cake here at Social Snippet, but it's kind of over now.
Yeah.
And like but the reality is like your podcast can live on for years.
Yeah.
But if you're not optimizing it like that, like FAQ question, like that person that actually is going to Google that, it's like no one's going to ever find that. It's just going to be a cake reel.
Yeah. Just gonna be a cake reel. Well, and if you're smart, which I think we are, but if you're smart, you actually are building a resource library for your ideal clients that you can even reference. So even at the High Vibe Women community, you and I both coach in there. Ben's always like, what's my place in this? Why am I here? But when Ben comes or me and Maria are coaching in there and someone asks like, hey, like I'm having trouble with a trending reel.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's how we use trending reels. Here's an awesome podcast episode, and a bunch of people would download it, right? So you can use it for so many things. That ChatGPT episode I did with Kelsey, that was an awesome episode. And that was a timely one. I was like, I'm interviewing her next week, and this needs to come out ASAP, Rocky, because all these people are asking this question on how to show up on chat. You got it out very quickly. And then it's now one of our probably top 10 ever.
Yeah, no, that was a great episode.
So it's like, I think it's really about thinking about it, like how you can be like of service and as a resource. Okay, the next one is, this one is my favorite, with guests with community power. People do try to over leverage this, I will say, though. This is something I will say, is that if you have a guest who has a big audience, you cannot expect that's going to blow your podcast up.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
It's tough because like, I think it can blow an episode up for you.
Yeah.
And I think that if your podcast is really quality with that guest and without that guest, it can create some trickle-down effect.
Totally.
It definitely isn't worth nothing. But yeah, you can't build a podcast off of, hey, I'm going to have like one amazing guest every 3 months and that's just going to like coast me. That's not going to be enough of a differentiating factor. Like that awesome guest probably is on other podcasts too.
Yeah.
So, you need a bit more of a full strategy than that. But
totally. I would say it does help though. Like I do think having Lori, having had Jacqueline Johnson, I've had Marina, I've had I have some great people upcoming. Does that increase my clout as a podcaster when I go pitch new people? Totally.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
But if I relied on my episode with Chris or my episode with Lori to like blow my podcast up, I would be mistaken. But those podcasts still get downloads every week. Like, like
Yeah, 100%.
still years later are still paying up. There are even people, one of the things I will say is like you could have people who have small audiences but have very engaged followings. Someone I think about all the time with this, and not necessarily a small audience, but just like isn't 200K, is my friend Monica Boudreau from Work Wives.
Yeah.
She like came on a podcast. It was the first person to ever interview her on a podcast. I remember it was like gangbusters. Like, it was crazy how many people were downloading this episode. And she was like, people just were excited to hear her on a podcast, right? And so it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge audience, but there's also a power to being like having people on a podcast who you don't have a lot of exposure to their community. So, for example, in the notes, like Jess Huntington, who is the co-founder of Shine Talent Influencer Agency, which is like, she just doesn't have a massive personal brand, but Shine's massive. Like Birds Papaya, like our client Ariana Christie, like we do her podcast, like all these amazing influencers, like, but Jess has a really, really wonderful following. And she talked about something super interesting.
Yeah.
And she's built something really incredible.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a no-brainer for people to listen and really enjoy. And so, using guests in that way can be really helpful.
Yeah, I think like we've almost identified like kind of like two types, and then there's probably a third type of guest. But like you have like the one type of guest, which is like kind of the dream guest, the stretching guest. Like you might not even really be quote unquote friends with them. It's kind of more like they're a mentor of yours. That it's kind of a favor that you're calling in. Just kind of lend their value to your community. And that's awesome because it can definitely get you the exposure. But we talked about is sometimes they don't really promote it, or sometimes their audience like is seeing them other places, so it's not always gonna convert. So, but there's definitely pros and cons of that. And then there's like the cold audience guest, which is like really bringing in someone who has like a very different value, very different audience, and different things. And then there's kind of like more like a warm power partner type kind of guest too, which has like another unique kind of offering there. So I think about guests on this podcast that like Carly. Yeah. Obviously, like a kind of a similar industry, a lot of like mutual people who love Carly, love you. That's still like a great lend in that way because it's something that can still be amplified. You can count on those people to share the podcast, to listen to it, all that kind of stuff. They become a power partner in that way. But sometimes again, like there is like that kind of like already a familiarity. There's a little bit sometimes maybe less intrigue. Like, I don't know who that person is. I don't know what they're going to say. Like, people kind of generally, they know how great Carly is. They don't necessarily need to hear it from the community podcast. But yeah, I think like almost like a mix of those three types of guests too. Yeah. And then that's like being on your podcast, but we've all like also part of this is still like going on other podcasts and stuff like that as well. Which like you've definitely done that this year.
Yeah, I have had some really cool opportunities come up in the last year, which has been such a blessing, and like, but also is a result of consistency and like consistently showing up. Like, so I did Chris's podcast like probably a year and a half ago. I did Lori's podcast like I think in like August-ish. Yeah, around that. Yeah. And I should probably maybe a little earlier than that. But anyway, both were actually I can track ROI to those podcasts, like in result of clients. Yeah. Because they have such high trust from their community of the quality of guests they brought on. So I was very honored to have the opportunity to do it. But I honestly right now I'm not in a season of doing too many podcasts, just being honest. Just because I'm a new mom, I'm very tired. But I actually think there's so much value even in being on small podcasts. Yeah. Because those people have ride or die audiences. So even sometimes I'll be on a podcast, I don't even really know the host that well. I'm always like, oh, I wonder who's listening to this. And I'll get DMs from people being like, that was a great episode. I learned this, or I thought about this differently. And so, I don't know, sometimes people have a little bit of a rub on like, how many downloads do you have before I go on this? And I'm like, I'm just not a believer in that. Yeah, no. I mean, shout out to community podcast listeners. I feel like that kind of applies to us. Like, we've grown a lot, but like we still really have like a, I don't know how big of a group it is, but it's a big group and it's growing. But like we have like people we can count on. They're part of our community that we totally have ride or dies, and like you can't put a price on that. You can't put any value on that. So yeah, I'm definitely like, and also I would say like people like obviously a big question too that we get is like all about like sponsorship, monetization, stuff like that. It's actually like mind-boggling to me
people like think that some podcasts are way bigger than they are.
100%.
It's just not the case. Like the community podcasts, like we have good stats.
Yeah.
We're in the top charts. We're I'm all a part of this team. But like it's there. You wouldn't, if you saw our back end, you wouldn't be like absolutely mind blown by what's going on. But it's like, if you actually looked at like some of like the amazing clients we've gotten from our podcast, the amazing opportunities that our business has been presented with, that you've been presented with, you would be like kind of mind blown. Like and it's just like, it's simply not all about numbers. And like, I mean, I have a friend who worked on like the Scores podcast. So the Score has like 2 million Instagram followers. It's like a sports thing. I was like, dude, just like shoot straight with me. Like, what are the numbers looking like here? Because like I know podcast numbers, and I want to know. I'm like, I want to know, like, you guys got like some pretty decent sponsors. Like their podcast right now is sponsored by like Enterprise, like car rentals. I'm like, they're giving you guys some cash. How much? Like, what are your downloads like? They're not that good. I'm just gonna go and say, like, it's like good. It's good. It's like it's
this podcast is gonna come from me now.
it's good, but it's just like, it's not what you would necessarily think it would be. Yeah. But they have like a loyal listening of people, and like they do have a lot of impact. And like that's still, I still wouldn't be surprised if their sponsors are all getting ROI from their podcast. Totally. But it's just like, it's not 500,000 people. Like that's actually not a realistic number for like 99.9% of podcasts.
Yeah.
So
even if you think about like Jenna Kutcher, like, actually she's not the example I'm going to use somebody else. Like, I have a friend who, she's been podcasting, she's a top podcaster. She has 9 million downloads, but she's been doing it for 9 years. You know what I mean? And she's getting thousands of downloads immediately. Like, you know, like there is an art to it. And I would say, even we have a client, and I'm not going to use their name, but they have a bit more downloads than I do, but I would say not like a crazy, not double. Yeah. And they just recently got an affiliate commission on something. Remember I was messaging you about this?
Yeah.
And the ROI on it is insane, like actually insane, off of an ad, right? Yeah. And it's because she has a really loyal following. And so similarly, even yesterday, I pitched a sponsor for High Vibe Women, and they said, could we come on your podcast? What are your numbers like? And I actually felt like a little bit of shame when I said them. Like, I was a little like, oh, like they're probably expecting something different than what I'm about to say. And then I said, but I actually, like, the podcast code was the #1 code for High Vibe Women this year. Like, we do get affiliate commissions off of our podcast. You know, we're past the monetization mark where you can monetize using ads. Yeah. Like, so I was like, I have actually nothing to be embarrassed about. And this is something that's growing, and over time this will be even better. And so just a reminder, like, to anyone listening to this, like, no matter what number you're starting with, you have to start there to get to the next level.
Yeah, and I would almost encourage you to think about, like, not like, what will I do when I can monetize? So essentially, like, what does monetization look like in the stage you're in? Because you can always get ROI from your podcast. Like, people are like, oh, it's a long game. You have to like commit a year. It's like, yes, that's kind of true. But like, also, like, what does it look like to get some ROI the first week of your podcast? Like, maybe that looks like having like pitching your own services for the first few months. Maybe it looks like getting some like putting on affiliate codes. And then what does it look like to monetize in the second year of your podcast? Maybe you start to like leverage, like we've leveraged some amazing High Vibe Women sponsors for our podcast. Maybe like, what does it look like to land the first brand deal? It's like, it's like not thinking, not being like, oh, when I get here, what will I do? It's like, what can you do right now to make ROI from your podcast? Because like your podcast in and of itself, I'm confident will give you some ROI if you just like are actually able and willing to monetize what you're doing. It's like, even in like the content you can get from it, you can consider that ROI from your podcast. And we talked about that. We talked about ROI from a podcast again as well in another episode. But it's like, I think it's just like kind of shifting your mindset on that, and versus like what does success look like right now? Not what will I do when I like consistently land in the top 5 podcasts in the US or something like that. Like, it is by a ways off, but like there's a lot of wins to have before that.
Totally. Have we done a podcast on how to monetize podcasting?
We've done a podcast about how to get ROI from your podcast.
Okay. We should do one about like how to actually monetize.
100%.
Okay, let's add it to the noggin in there. Okay, what didn't work? So what are some things that didn't work? So we did do some paid ad stuff, which is like dun dun dun. Because we're always like, we don't do any paid ad stuff, but we don't really do any paid ad stuff. We posted that cake.
Well, we've mostly said that for like the agency, which is still true.
Yeah, that is true.
We've used some paid ads for the podcast, and I think like I don't, I don't, I include that because like I don't think there's any like shame in that. I think that especially when you're looking strategically for like aligned opportunities, like you're gonna get like pretty decent return for like not a huge dollar amount, and it's like worth a try. I think like in podcasting, like you're just not, if you're not trying things, you're just simply not gonna grow as fast.
Yeah.
And this year was a lot about trying different things for us. We've kind of landed on the fact that like most of the time the paid ads aren't actually worth it for us because like most of our ROI comes from people who we meet through agency services, we meet in in-person events, we meet through high vibe women, we meet in these different pockets. And those aren't the type of people that we're always getting from the paid ads. But the paid ads, like they still have yielded some return for us. So like there's different ones out there. We've tried Mopod, and Podcast Addict and stuff like that. And they're good. They can give you a boost. The thing that I would be testing and tracking is like, does that immediately drop off, or do you see a longer term from that? Because like that will help you to justify whether or not it actually was worth it. Because you could pad some stats on like an episode, which has kind of been reflected in some of our episodes, but if you can see like an overall increase for like a more prolonged period of time, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like that's how you'll know that you actually were able to retain some of that ad spend. So.
And I was gonna say, this isn't in our notes, but one of the things I do think that we do, which is like, because we're doing so many things at the same time, we haven't always been great at tracking ROI on these things because we're trying so many different things at the same time. So we're like trying LinkedIn newsletters, we're doing this, we're doing that. So even with Mopod, like Mopod gives you a big boost at the beginning. We don't know how many of those people stay, but Podcast Addict, we actually have noticed, I don't know, I think we've talked about this, but like on our like most listened to, when you look at platforms, Podcast Addict's one of the top ones. It's like Apple Podcasts and Podcast Addict.
Yeah.
So the ads probably did work. But when you look at the ad stats, it's like 12 people you paid $400 for it. I don't know. That's kind of a big cost of acquisition for 12 people for me. When I could do a live podcast event and get some like a good boost there, or do something like that would be more meaningful. So it helped a bit, but I don't think it was like the quality we were looking for.
No, I'd agree. It's definitely shouldn't be like, if you're like looking for one tip from this one, put that one last. Is basically what we're saying. It's definitely not a no, but I think you have to be doing a lot of other things well, I think, in order to justify it. And you might still not even see the results you're looking for. So I think like a better investment for you and your business is probably going on another podcast, going to an event, sponsoring something with your podcast, putting your podcast ads on a podcast that you already know, rather than something that you've been randomly assigned. There's lots of other options that could be paid, that could be unpaid. But definitely not a complete bust, but not something that we would lead with is the paid ads.
Love that.
And
then the other thing was really just thinking like posting clips with not a lot of context. That's a piece as well, is that people are like looking for information. They're looking for insights. So to post a clip is like not really worth it.
Yeah. I was just thinking with this one too, is like, it's like clips can kind of like honestly kind of help you or hurt you. Like, just like posting a clip and be like, hey, listen to my episode, and then you have a clip where you're just kind of randomly talking for a minute. It's like, it's like you actually could turn people off from your podcast. It seems a little bit promotional. You might kind of annoy people, especially if you're doing multiple episodes a week. The clips, like the more you post the clips, the more growth you can get. But also the more you post the clips, the more value the clips have to provide in order for them to really actually do anything. So think about the clips as more like, would this be decent standalone content on your feed, regardless of whether or not it's a podcast clip? If you wouldn't post it, if there was no podcast attached to it, maybe not a great thing to invest in. Or to use at all. But I think just like, what is it like, ask yourself, what does it look like to actually like have like a segment where I ask a question and there's actually an answer in the clip? What does it look like to pick like to actually go through and make sure you're getting the most high impact clip? Something we've really worked on like for our clients as well, is like genuinely getting like the highest impact moment to try and set them up for success on it. And then even if you have a good clip, if you don't caption it properly. If it's not really related to your episode topic, if there's a bunch of different things, like you can totally lose people. So I think just being really intentional with the promotion and just like again like leading with like value. Like you want to answer a question for your audience, something that they really like a burning desire that they need to know the answer to this, and you want to provide it for them, not just like, hey, would you do me a favor and download this? That's not really going to work.
Well, I was going to say too, something I learned from Natalie Ellis, boss babe Natalie Ellis, when I was in Chris Harder's mastermind, was that people do not like to cross platforms, so they don't like to go from. And they will, if it's hard, they will not do it. Like I always say this on social. I'm always like, don't make it hard for people to give you money. They're not going to look for it. Like people aren't like, oh wow, I'd love to get the social snippets of money. If you feel that, then do it. But I don't think that that's what you're feeling.
Yeah.
But something we have integrated this year that isn't on here is ManyChat. And I know you have a love hate with ManyChat.
Yeah, I guess it's love hate. Like I think it's like, Kristina's is just love.
I don't know how to use it at all.
No, but like it looks impressive.
Yeah.
Like it does create a bit of a seamless flow. Like I totally get the hype around it. Again, I think if you don't know how to use it properly, like you'll kind of be like, wow, no one's really engaging with my ManyChat. It's like because it's still requiring more out of people, and like it is still an extra step. So again, like your ManyChat has to actually promise value and then deliver on it. Otherwise, you're doing a disservice to yourself, because the next time you use the ManyChat, people are going to be like, last time I asked for that link, it wasn't even correct. It sent me to some random freebie that I didn't want. Or that podcast episode didn't even answer the question that it said that it would answer. Like, I'm not going to waste my time on that. So it's like, you really got to like build trust with your ManyChat. And I'd almost like be like, question like, what would it look like to just use it on like the biggest and best stuff that you're doing? Or just kind of putting as much value into it as possible. But yeah, ManyChat is awesome because it does again more seamlessly transition people off the platform, which is the hardest thing. Like you're saying about the social clips, is like you have to get them to Apple, and it's like nobody wants to do that when they're scrolling, and people also want to look for like quick wins. So yeah, making it as easy as possible for people to do that transition. And part of that is like you can get ROI from your podcast when it's not even your podcast if the clip's really good. That is still your podcast. So like you can also even like make that like, can you actually provide value even in that 1 minute? So like, because like you're gonna get some, if the clip's good, you're gonna get some people to Spotify. But like even if the people you don't, did you provide value to them? Did you answer a question to them? Like, because then they're gonna come back even just for the clip.
Yeah.
So
no, I love that, and it's like an easy way to get kind of right into people's inboxes, right? Where it's like, yeah, you know, I have a love for ManyChat. I was like, Ben, let's make a ManyChat link. And he's like, no, Kristina. But okay, the last piece about this, and then we'll really quickly go through what we would do again, because this episode is packed with value, is really overthinking perfection. So often, I would, it's funny because I would say I am somebody who I take a lot of messy action. Like I'm somebody who I don't care if things aren't perfect. Unlike my friend Maria, who she loves the perfection. So, but sometimes our best episodes have been the ones where we're in a hotel room with our little mics, and we're like we just did one about relaunching our membership, and her and I were in Halifax after our Halifax lunch, and we were like, let's just record this now, rather than waiting to be in a studio or whatever. So sometimes those messy things are the things that do really well because they're really personal. Yeah, and it keeps it fresh, right? Like especially when you can do it messy and you're in as Marie would say, you would say, the energy of it. We both say that one. Okay, that's just a general have woman one, I feel like. But yeah, when you're in the energy of it, you just show up better, and it's you have more fresh perspectives. If you're not trying to think about, oh, what did I experience or what did we learn? It's we're in this right now. Yeah. When you're in the messy middle right now, people want to hear from you in the messy middle. So too often people are hearing from people at the beginning or the end of a journey. It's what was it like when you were in it, when you were at that event, when you were going through that hard situation? It's reflection things are great, but what are you learning right now? It's kind of what we're trying to do right now. It's we're not done this podcast growth journey. We're on it right now, but it's we're in the middle. We're a year in kind of, and it's this is where we're at, right? We're in the messy middle, and people want to hear from that. And if you wait, you just miss out on opportunities to reflect on that event. If you wait 2 weeks, you don't do the episode, you just lost the opportunity to really recoup some of the leads or some of the amazing people you met at that event. They're not going to listen to that episode if it comes out 4 months after the event. Or that update happens in your industry,
some kind of policy changes, or in our case, like when Instagram drops a new update, it's like if we want to talk about that, we got to talk about it right now. And it can always be perfect. So you have to be willing to do it a little bit messy. And I think that's totally okay, because done is better than perfect in podcasting. I don't know if a perfect podcast exists.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know what that would look like.
No, even like I think about Diary of a CEO and stuff, like obviously the editing is amazing. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to like, millions probably to produce. But
what's interesting with that one though is I haven't watched tons of it, like watched it, but like they still like their goal is to look raw and authentic.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of money doing that.
Yeah.
But you could just do the real thing. You could just be raw and authentic.
Just be raw and authentic.
Skip the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just record using a DJI mic or something like that. Yeah, a little mini mic.
I know. And that's the other thing is that people like wait too long to take action because they're like, oh, I need the Shure. Shure is nice, but those Amazon mics, sometimes I can't even tell the difference.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, these mics are they stand out less and less every year, unfortunately. And it's not because they're getting worse. I think that other things it's just getting easier to produce really quality equipment.
Yeah.
So, and like the editing softwares are getting better too. Everything's just getting better. So
it's becoming easier.
It's just becoming easier to podcast. You have no excuse.
Everybody. I don't know if everybody's podcast, but if it's on your heart, you should do it. If you're listening to this and you've gotten this far, you want to, and you don't have a podcast, you obviously want one.
Or go on a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big one too. Okay, I'm going to rapid fire go through what we do again. And so one of them was building in public. So really always like kind of like sharing with the community, like our goals, asking for reviews. Like there's nothing tacky about that. Like I think people get like worried about asking and stuff, but like every time I ask for a review, I get some. Yeah,
you're building a community. Build a community. Community is about what goes around comes around. Everyone's in it together. So make the asks. Yeah.
Encouraging and sharing. We asked our listeners to tag us. So like sometimes we'll say at the end, like often our outro, like, share this on social. I'll do episodes where I'll do like little giveaways in them, like I did with Carly. So like, do those because sometimes people don't do them. And I'm like, this is nuts. You're listening. I see the download numbers.
Kristina loves getting DMs about the podcast.
Love. I love. Do you not
give more? Send us more.
Yeah, DM me because I do screenshot them and send them all to Ben as like a look at the hard work that you are doing, and it's so good.
It's good. People are engaging with it. That's what we want. It's not. This isn't meant to be like just a dead conversation. So, it's good.
Staying consistent, which we're still on this train. Even like when I was, about to take a very, very, very short mat leave, Maria was like, "Well, I could take the podcast over," and I was like, "No, like I've committed to this. We're gonna keep it going." And lastly, being strategic with how episodes are constructed. So really, as much as we can, being punchy, getting niche with our stuff. I don't know. Any last ones from you?
That podcast you talked about having the great affiliate return, like you said, not a huge audience. Yeah. Pretty big, but not huge. Niche topic, though.
Niche
topic. The niche, sometimes the better. Often the better.
Yeah, I would agree.
Slower burn, but often better to go niche. So,
yeah. Love that. Okay, well, if you've been dreaming up your podcast or, you're trying to grow it, I hope you got something from this episode. We just really just spilled the beans on the whole thing. So we're so thrilled that hopefully this is helpful in some way. Ben, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I would encourage you to connect with Ben, but the best way to do so would be on any of our social media channels at The Social Snippet. Ben manages all of those, and he does try to sound more like me every single day on social.
Yeah, let me know if that's working, by the way.
Let him know if you thought it was me. But no, connect with us. Let us know what resonated the most, and we can't wait to see how much your podcast grows.